I'm going to call the meeting to order of the Parks and Recreation Commission of September 9th, 6:30 p.m. We're going to do roll call, and we're going to call out our names. Marmion present.
Teresa Jimenez present.
Madison Davis present.
Lynn's present.
Amy Dunn present.
Lyle Covino present.
Thank you. And we have Commissioner Bulgoff absent. Thank you. We have adoption of the agenda, and we're going to have one change on this agenda tonight. We're going to move new business up to old business. We're just reversing them tonight since we have a presentation. So may I have a motion to amend that change?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much. Approval of minutes of July 8th.
I'd like to speak to that.
Yes?
There are a few things that did come up during that meeting and didn't end up in the minutes, and I think it would be helpful for us to consider them and to put them in a place where they can get some work done on them. One was discussing work done by subcommittees of the commission. There was a statement made by Commissioner that we have no relationship to the council. And after the meeting, I did talk to Trish about it, compared notes. I had written it down. She had it written down, and it was a decision not to write it in the minutes. However, it's an important point, and I think that when we consider the municipal code, we'll take a look at what the relationship of the commission is to the council.
But we need to only report action minutes, is this correct? Yes. That's why they were not put in the...
Well, there's some statements, I think, that if we bring this up, this might come to be useful to us. And the second thing was that the commission doesn't have this kind of input. The staff does everything in terms of programming, et cetera. And the commission does have a lot of input. So I'm asking that the municipal code, either we get a page of that given to us for our next meeting, or it get read to us. And could we have that done?
Sure. I mean, we can always provide you a copy of the municipal code. It's online for anybody who wants to read it. I would probably make a recommendation, though, that based on how far you get with your values and mission statement tonight, that it becomes just a natural part of the next step in the process of working through, are we meeting our objectives that we set out for ourselves. So I would just say that if we get through the mission statement tonight, that we would provide that as background information for what programs we want to provide, and we'd also provide a sheet of like what the programs we currently provide to make sure we're meeting the goals of the mission statement you come up with.
Okay.
So it'd be more in that context, I think, than just handing that out. But I'd provide that, and I would probably also provide the municipal code, as well as there was a resolution that council recently adopted. I say recently, it's a couple of years ago, about the responsibilities and roles of all the various commissions. So I just provide all that as background information to make sure that we're meeting our mission.
Thank you. There's one more point, something that is not here, but it was said at the last meeting. It was pretty important, and the statement was made that by you, Renee, that I, in fact, had attacked two members of the community, that you had heard that I attacked two members of the community. These were the people from 7 Mile House. And
these are only action minutes.
Well,
so I would not like that to, I don't see what that's relevant to these minutes that we're trying to do.
Well, okay,
right now.
I'll bring it up under commissioners. I'll bring it up there because I considered it as a means of slander.
Can I ask if the
Sure.
word attacked was used?
It was used.
Because I don't recall hearing that word.
I do. And I had a discussion afterwards with somebody. Yes, it was used. And it's an important point, and I can then relay to you my conversations with the people involved and what information we came up with, and I think that would be helpful. Because to me, that kind of, if that had been on camera, it would have been even worse, but it is considered a slanderous statement.
Well, is that why you're doing this now? Because we're on camera?
No, I'm doing it because we're discussing our minutes, and we're
Okay.
discussing our meeting and the things that take place at the meeting, and that's a serious point.
So do I have approval of these minutes for July 8th?
I move that we approve them? Is that what we're asking for?
Yeah,
Okay.
do we have a motion to approve the minutes of July 8th? The action minutes, the actions that took place, besides the conversations. Okay.
May I ask
Thank
one
you.
question? If conversations are not considered part of the minutes, but they're part of the work we do, how do we differentiate between them?
Well, I mean, the city council decided years ago, as a budget-saving mechanism, that we don't take minutes as for each of the conversations on what everybody says, but instead that we just write down the actions and the final vote of those actions.
Okay.
So the conversation leads to an action, and that's what we record.
All right, so then that can come up under commissioners then. Thank you.
Okay. So do we have a first?
Yeah,
Second? Okay, thank you. Okay, introduction of new Parks and Recreation Manager.
Yes, it's my great pleasure to introduce to you Noreen Leak as our recreation manager. A couple of reasons I'm very excited. One, at some point she'll probably be the one that you're going to be interfacing with and dealing with at the commission meetings, as well as she will be working with the community on, right now she's working on our special event of the Day in the Park and the Derby. She's also working on our hydrant, which is happening the second weekend of October. So we're very excited about that. So having another person upstairs is very exciting for us. But in addition to that, we went through an exhaustive search. We had over 30 applicants apply for the position. We interviewed, I think it was 8 to 9 people out of that 31. Then I looked at Clay and I talked to 3 individuals, and we thought that Noreen was the best suited for us. Her experience is she's worked in Menlo Park in a variety of positions, so we're very excited about that. She started as a recreation coordinator, moved up to a recreation supervisor, and was also a recreation manager for a period of time there. So we were very excited. She ran the Menlo Park Community Center, so that was very exciting. She has her degree, her bachelor's degree in recreation, and I don't remember which university, San Diego State? San Francisco State, and then she has her master's degree from Notre Dame de Namur in Belmont. So we're very excited to have somebody who has been able to be in the profession as well as have the education and have her master's. So we're very excited about having her. We're looking forward to having her work with the community and having the day-to-day management upstairs. So
Welcome.
if Noreen would like to say anything, I'd be...
I don't need to say much because he just said a lot of it. But I've had the pleasure to meet many of you already, and very excited to be here in Brisbane working with the community. Look forward to future projects with all of you, and just further enhancing our recreation programs here for the Brisbane community. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, citizen communications. We don't have any at this moment.
Yes, don't we have
I'm going to
one?
do that at written
Written
communications.
Oh, okay.
Is that more appropriate? Okay.
Yeah.
That's what. Okay, so now we're going to go to new business, and we have a presentation of the Parkside project by the Planning Department. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're on. All right, good evening, commissioners. I'm Julia Capasso. I'm the associate planner here with the Planning Department. And I'm here tonight to talk to you about a new planning process that the city is kicking off in the next few weeks. We're referring to this plan as the Parkside at Brisbane Village precise plan, and you should have in front of you a handout map showing the boundaries of the plan area, which is also on the screen here as well. So essentially the Parkside area, it's a fairly small area right at the gateway to our city. It includes the intersections at Valley Drive in Bayshore, as well as Old County Road and Bayshore. And included in this area are a variety of public land uses, so City Hall, Post Office, the community park. There's also some vacant parcels on the east side of Bayshore that are publicly owned. Retail uses, the Brisbane Village Shopping Center, right there at the gateway to our town, as well as some warehouse and office uses along Park Lane and Park Place. So, since many of the parcels in this area are privately owned, this planning process is intended to create a collaborative visioning effort with the community and property owners to come together and agree on a set of shared vision and standards for any changes that might occur in this area in the future. This is an area that's been addressed in the past in prior planning efforts. Last year's ULI Technical Assistant Panel, for example, focused on Crocker Park, which did touch on several of the parcels identified here. And many other processes over the years have looked at the Brisbane Shopping Center, the community park. So this process, again, it's really intended to be a comprehensive visioning process. It's also going to address the city's obligation to designate additional housing sites in response to our adopted housing element, which was adopted by council earlier this year. So that includes the adoption of overlay zoning for sites along Park Place and Park Lane. The large part of the planning process will also look at improving community health. We're partnering with Get Healthy San Mateo County on this effort. They are going to help us with resources as well as some amount of public outreach to really see how we can improve community health through, not only physical health, for example, but also social, environmental health. When you ask what community health means, a lot of people will give you a lot of different answers. So that is intended to be a really important and integral part of our visioning process here. This would be a long-term plan. None of the changes would be anticipated to be in the short term. And again, because a lot of the properties are privately owned, it'll rely on private investment. A large part of the project as well will have an economic analysis looking at the feasibility of different visioning scenarios that are coming out of the community process. So we are going to start a more in-depth public outreach and engagement process in October, most likely. We are in the process of obtaining consultant services to help manage the public engagement as well as preparation of the plan itself. And there is not a formal work scope or schedule adopted yet, but we anticipate that council will do so later this month and early in October. The outreach is intended to be comprehensive. So in the past, we've relied a lot on stakeholder outreach. So, for example, for the TAP, we had commissioner representation, different committees, etc. Really trying to get all aspects of the community involved here. Of course, we'll have property owners, residents, anyone with a real stake in the process, which is almost everyone here, will be engaged. We will be at community events, so we will be at Day in the Park to provide some information, and there will be different online resources and ways for people to interact, as well as the traditional meetings here and workshops at City Hall. So that's all I had prepared for you all. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
I'd like to ask you a question. I've seen this map several times, and every time I see it, it's the same. But I can't look at anything on here and say that specifically is a change. That is what we're proposing. That is what we're hoping to have there. We've talked about housing, but it doesn't say approximately where that would be. And since we do have many of these properties that are privately owned, for example, we have an issue with the shopping plazas, with vacancies. what here is being proposed, like we're talking about the health and welfare of the community, what exactly on the map could you point to and say, and we're going to do this here, or this is what's planned? These are the things that would be under that category.
Sure. So there is nothing planned yet. So what the map in front of you is showing you is the boundary of what we will be looking at. When it comes to, for instance, sort of physical improvements that could be coming out of this, for example, if the community said, well, we want better designated bike lanes, in this area, connecting us to Central Brisbane and the rest of Crocker Park. That's an example of something that could be borne out from the visioning process. But yeah, this map is really just the physical boundaries of the plan area, defining, focusing. This is the area we're looking at. Nothing concrete has been proposed yet. That'll come out of our visioning process.
Through the chair. Mm-hmm. I think for the public, it would be great for you to speak on why this area is of interest. I know I've had conversations with city council members, but I think it's valuable for people who are watching tonight to understand why specifically this area is being looked at. So can you speak on that?
Sure. So this area is a pretty important area in our city. Anyone who's coming into town, whether they live here or they're visiting, perhaps not quite always the Northeast Ridge, but for Central Brisbane, you're coming through either Valley Drive or Old County Road through those intersections. So this really is the gateway area to our town. It's where a lot of different land uses and neighborhoods kind of meet. So the industrial park, the community park, our retail area, as well as the housing in Central Brisbane. So it's a pretty key area. It defines, or maybe doesn't yet define, that'll bear out in our visioning process, but it is the gateway to the city. So I think that's really the impetus between why all these different sites are included.
There's also the issue about the requirements for a housing element. And the city council, and Julia, you probably can do this much better than I can, but when we have every year or every 7 years we have to update our housing element by state law, there's a certain number of housing units that need to be required that the city zones for. To whether they get built or not is not the relevant issue. It's just that we have to have a requirement for a certain number of houses zoned and a certain number of affordable housing zoned. And the city council, when they looked at trying to get to those numbers, thought that this area might be a nice area for that kind of use, because what it is it's an edge area between the park and the housing and the industrial park. So really what you have in that area is you backing up on the community park and coming in through the gateway of the city, as Julia said, is you have industrial buildings. Mm-hmm. And I think part of the conversation that the city council had when they were looking at how do we zone for enough housing, whether or not it gets built is an irrelevant statement for the state. You have to remember this is a state law, and what actually happens is not always relevant. But where would that kind of housing best be? And if you're able to do it around the park area, around an area where they're shopping, you have a higher probability for accessibility for all people, not just those who are able to walk up and down the hills, but you'd also be able to have people who are maybe less mobile be able to use the park easier and be able to get to shopping easier. So that was the impetus, I think, for why they thought housing in that part of town would be good. And then when they looked at that, they said, okay, how do we create something different? As Jamie said, that the village has been empty for a number of years in different locations within the village. So the question is there a way that you can revitalize the Brisbane Village shopping area, and how do you do that? So what the city council said is, as opposed to the city council coming up with a plan, and as opposed to a developer coming up with a plan, let us talk with the community. And as Julia said, let's go through a visioning process. And that's why, Jamie, you haven't seen a proposed plan, because the proposed plan is really being hoped to come from the community as a whole, with the recognition that the land is in private ownership, so the people who own that land also has a stake in it. So the goal is to have all the stakeholders get together and revision what the city would look like there. And when we talk about healthy communities, we are working with the San Mateo County Healthy Community group. And, they talk about what makes a walkable city, what makes a city usable not only for people who have the ability to walk, a quarter of a mile, but what makes it usable for people who have more limited ability for walking or for getting around. And we really want to make sure that as we go through the visioning process, that all of these ideas are brought forward. And that's why we don't want to have something proposed and people change it. We'd rather hear what makes a healthy community coming up front, because healthy communities for different people are different, have different things. And as we'll find out as we talk about even the Parks and Recreation Department's mission statement, people have different perspectives of what's important, and we need to hear from everybody. And that's why I think, answering Madison's question, that's why this area is being looked at, and trying to get to a little bit more of what Jamie was talking about as to why you don't see anything on the ground yet, is because we really want to hear back from everybody in the community, or as many people in the community as want to participate, and have everybody's perspective brought forward. Hopefully I didn't say anything wrong, Julia.
Along those lines, Stuart, so what would be the role of the Parks and Recreation Commission for looking at the precise plan? Are we going to have a representative going to the meetings to be part of that? Do we brainstorm among ourselves and look at recreation space, pedestrian routes, bike paths? Do we talk about that? How do we weigh in on this, and how are we involved?
So, I don't think it's been fully defined yet. I think that's going to be part of the process the City Council will go through. But as you can see, that one of the centerpieces for this is the community park. Mm-hmm. So, the Parks and Recreation Commission's, one of their responsibilities is making recommendations when it comes to parks and recreation facilities. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be able to speak for the City Council. So a possibility would be is that there'd be representatives on whatever focus groups or visioning process there would be from the commission. But I would also, knowing the City Council in the past, as they've gone through this, if you think about the sustainability plan, you think about the Sierra Point guidelines, those have come through the Parks and Recreation Commission, so that way the Parks and Recreation Commission could comment on those areas that are within their purview. I would imagine, well, again, I can't speak for it because I don't know, because the process hasn't been fully developed, but I would imagine that as the plan gets developed, there will be a period of time for the Parks and Recreation Commission to speak to the Parks and Recreation facilities that are being contemplated in that area.
Okay, great.
I have one more question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jamie.
You said this is a long-term versus a short-term project, and I hear stories of people being very worried about four-story buildings being put down there. So I don't know if these are just blatant rumors or there are somebody's potential plans for housing along Bayshore that may be as high as 4 stories. And the way I look at it, I keep looking for where exactly are they talking about, and I don't see anything specific on here except an outline. Yeah. So do you have any thoughts about that, where we're hearing stories about this?
So the housing sites have already been designated in the housing element, and they are sorry, you might have to turn around for this.
That's all right.
Oh, and the pointer is not working.
This is what I think I'm telling you. Yeah. Down here.
Funny how those things happen, like right when you need them.
Right. So essentially, sorry to be pointing, the site's on Park Lane. It's the farthest to the northwest. The middle building there.
The warehouse is across from, on the other side of Park Lane.
Correct.
So it's
but not the post office.
It's all those warehouses,
right.
3 warehouses.
And then the sites on Park Place are,
The old Arthur Court building?
Yeah, that's right. And also
Okay.
the SFO apparel.
Okay.
Is this?
So they would take those.
So would these be acquired by the city or?
No.
Okay.
So all properties are currently and will retain private ownership.
Okay.
So that's why we're trying to partner with the private property owners to say,
Okay.
Very ingenious.
Can you just go over those one more time?
Very ingenious.
thank you.
Huh.
Okay. All right. So these sites here on Park Lane were identified in the housing element to have overlay residential zoning. And overlay zoning essentially means it's overlaying over the existing zoning, meaning, so the existing use is zone TC1, so Crocker Park, it's industrial warehousing. That won't change. It'll be an overlay on top of that of residential. So that gives a lot of flexibility to property owners.
Pardon me, would you please explain what you mean, an overlay on top of the commercial buildings?
I know it sounds a little jargony. So essentially what it means is the zoning it has right now will not change. That will stay TC1, which is how we refer to the Crocker Park zoning district. Additionally, on top of
TC stands for trade commercial.
Thank you.
Simultaneously, the overlay zoning would allow for housing development, should the property owner want to go that way. But it wouldn't mean that their underlying
You mean a conversion of one of these buildings to housing?
Correct. And that was in the housing element.
But
They're not required.
They could also have retail below with housing above.
So that would
right?
be the mixed-use zoning overlay is proposed over these sites on Park Place. So yes, mixed use would be retail, commercial, and residential.
So does this have anything to do with some plans that the Planning Commission was talking about of having building loft, live workspace on, I think, was it Park Place or someplace in that area?
I'm not sure that we haven't gotten any planning applications for that type of development. So the commission hasn't considered any discrete planning application.
Right,
like
but
no one submitted a.
But the Planning Commission has talked, the first step in going through the state required housing element is for it to go to the Planning Commission. So the Planning Commission, when they were talking about how do we get enough housing within the community, that may have been floated as a thought as to what might work.
Okay.
But just because, I mean, there's a lot, as you know, as a commission member, there's a lot of things that were said at the commission, but they're said as thought ideas, not as something that is going to happen at any particular time in the future. So that may have been a thought that was expressed either by a planning commissioner or by somebody at a planning commission meeting. I wasn't there, so I don't know, but I could see how that could have happened when we're talking about housing and what kind of housing might work for the RHNA numbers, and I don't know what RHNA stands for, and I hope never to know what RHNA stands for, but that's the technical term for it. So, I mean, those might be ideas that are broached when we even talk about the visioning, because that may be the kind of housing that people in this community would say, yeah, that makes sense. We'd like to see artist lofts. How do we get more artist lofts in town? I mean, this has been an idea in the 15 years that I've been here that has been talked about a lot, is how do we bring more artists in? One of the ways to do that in other communities is to provide for artist loft. So if that's a vision that this community has, this may be a good time to express that and make that as part of the overlay as to what would be acceptable within the housing overlays.
I see. That's why I was asking about overlays, what exactly we're meaning, putting them both in the same space as a live-work situation, like the lofts we see down in maybe the dog patch area of the city. Okay.
Right, and from an overlay perspective, from a planning point of view, I would say it comes from the perspective, if you think of a flat map like this, and then you're laying a piece of plastic over it with another designation. So in the old days, when you talked about saying, okay, this is a trade commercial area, now let me take a piece of plastic and put it over and overlay it, and these could be in the future at some point housing.
I see.
So that's why I think they call it overlays. So it's just kind of an old term of art or an old term based on old technology.
Okay, and then the other question I had was when you talked about long-term versus short-term, what does long-term mean? Because we could start this, but how long are you thinking?
And I should clarify, the planning process itself isn't intended to be a long-term process. That's actually, we're hoping to achieve, some good engagement, but have a plan by next year. So what I meant by long-term, I should have clarified, it's more in terms of the implementation of the plan. So, the plan will present the vision, whatever that may be, and then to see those changes actually happen over time, we're anticipating that it would be long-term, so we're talking decades.
So, right. So if you think about what it is in planning terms for our city, Jamie, the Sierra Point project was approved, I believe, it's before my time, but I think it was like 1979.
Yeah.
It is 50% built out today. So in 34 years, they're 50% done. And actually, it may have been 1982. So in 33 years, it's 50% done. So in our town, long term may be
Long term,
people's lifetimes.
yeah.
Okay, that's
Any other commissioners have any
helpful.
comments?
Yeah, I have a question. Now I know nothing. The conversation's just beginning in terms of getting community engagement, and first you kind of got to rezone, and then we have to talk about what exactly we're comfortable with putting in there, and that's conversations with multiple people and multiple stakeholders. But have these property owners mentioned anything about this occurring? Like, have they given any sorts of opinions about it, or are they not going to be brought into the discussion until it's the full stakeholder discussion?
We've reached out to the property owners already. So Mitch Bull, the Economic Development Director and Chamber President, he's been very key in contacting property owners, letting them know that this process is going to be coming up, and laying the groundwork for them to participate once we get everyone to the table. So yes, they have been proactively involved.
But they haven't said anything yet.
We haven't conducted, focus groups or outreach meetings yet.
Right. So they've been alerted.
Right.
Okay. Great.
May I ask, with reference to the housing element, was there some mention of this being affordable housing, and what does that mean to you? I mean,
Yeah.
for affordable housing can mean a lot to people at different economic levels. So
Sure. So the housing element does, for these particular sites, I believe it's low and moderate, and those limits are defined by the state in terms of, numerically based on.
Do you know what they
household
are?
size.
Offhand?
Not off the top of my head, and they change annually as well.
Okay.
There wouldn't be any HUD development?
Well, that would be public development. We don't anticipate any. Yeah, it would be private.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's all private.
So yeah, and the housing element I should mention, it's online now. If you're interested in checking it out, it delineates each site and the proposed designation for land use density.
And as this goes up Old County Road, and you're talking about the businesses that lie directly below the Old County Road, which is up above, and near, well, if it's three-tiered, we have Lippman, then we have the Old County Road, and then we have these businesses, right? Mm. So I remember when we were talking about a FedEx building that wanted to go down in that area, and there was a lot of concern about what was going to be down there because of the effects that it would have on the school and the air quality of the area. So I'm kind of interested to see that we're going up Old County Road again, and so I'm trying to see in my mind's eye if you had any specifics of anything going in here, or we're just saying we'd like to do it here, and let's get together and do it. And if that's the kind of process we're in now, it makes a lot more sense to me than we're putting four-story buildings on Bayshore, because I was hearing specifics, and those were concerning because I didn't see any work done on that.
Okay. I think so. I came on with the city in December, so the housing element process was midway. And from what I recall, that issue was brought up by the commission in their deliberations, as well as the city council when they were looking at adoption of the housing element. So that was considered in terms of the location of the housing sites versus, of all sorts of environmental concerns, including air quality. So that was taken into account. But again, we haven't had any specific proposals in terms of, a building this tall at this location.
I see.
There's
Thank
no
you.
level of detail.
And we're really hoping that the community is very involved in this, so that way, those concerns can be voiced
Right.
now. I mean, the goal in all of this is that the community gets to express what they're looking for, that the community works, and understands what limitations there are, what limitations we would like to see. So that way, when we get somebody who says, I would like to build on Old Quarry Road, that whatever the person is proposing, they already know what is acceptable to this community. So you don't get something where somebody comes in and says, oh, I want to put a nuclear power plant. And I picked a really absurd example, so anybody who's listening on TV, we're not putting a nuclear power plant in the middle of downtown Brisbane. But, that doesn't happen because we've already gone through the planning process, and the community has already stated what it is that they would like to see in these different locations. I mean, what we've done in the past is we've let developers we've let people say, here's what I'd like to put in, and then the planning department is legally required to process that proposal, whether or not that proposal fits with our community. If somebody proposes it and says, yeah, I would like to have that be heard, it's got to be heard legally. What we're trying to do is actually reverse that process and say, okay, let's hear from the community first as to what's acceptable in these areas, and then then a person who wants to develop a piece of property or bring something into a piece of property would say, oh, I know this is acceptable, so I can go ahead and bring that in, and I know not to bring in something that would not be acceptable. So we're really trying to do this so we don't end up in another FedEx conversation.
I see.
So aside from just talking about, the overlaying and the zoning, I heard some discussion about changing, the feel of driving into town from either of, the two entrances. So can you speak to, what that discussion has been like, or is that more something that we're going to dive into later on down the process? I'm trying to figure out to what extent the conversation regarding that has gone to.
We don't have any proposals as of yet. Again, that's something that we want to be borne out with talking to the community and other stakeholders. I mean, it is the gateway to our city, so some people may have suggestions such as, do we need signage? Do we need, a more defined median with prettier flowers? I mean, it could really address anything. That is something I think we will be a big part of our community outreach.
But that is a focus of something, aside from just rezoning and the overlaying.
Correct.
It is something that we're looking at.
Absolutely.
Adjusting.
Yeah, so you'll see, now I have my pointer. So this is these properties here, which are publicly owned. These two are not developed. This is the Park and Ride. So those are literally, they are blank slates. If the community saw a really great use to go there, that would help say, hey, this is Brisbane. I think that's a good starting point. But yeah, it's open to ideas and interpretation.
Wasn't there a time when there was a concern about building a gas station at one of those two properties, and there was some review of the fact that the land wasn't secure enough, that there was a lot of water in that land, and it was tending to be swampy and all of that? I mean, that's the same area, isn't it?
You remember that, right, Julia?
Sure.
Sure.
Somebody may remember it.
I do remember that. So there was a lot of conversation about having a gas station. There was a lot of discussion as to whether or not the location that was picked was a good location. Ultimately, the person decided not to go forward with their application. So there has been I don't know if there was any geotechnical information put out about it as to what was underground and what the seismology of it was, or what the hydrology of that area is. But I know that there was a conversation about it probably back in 2003, 2004, and it did not go forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
But I don't know, the questions you raised, I'm not sure if they were ever answered fully at that time.
One of the reasons I look at this and I say, what exactly is the intent of this? Because we've been going over the plans for the Baylands and how to make them accessible, the areas accessible to people in town, and the thoughts of pathways and walkways and et cetera. And, just putting something down here that doesn't have something to do with all the work that's been done on the DIR and the future plans for the Baylands. We may get to a point where you say, well, we were going to join these things together and we ended up like this. Mm-hmm. And that's concerning me because it actually, any connection that we'd have to the Baylands is going to be right through this area. So building something there without concern for how that connects to an area that we're all working on presently, that's what's got me kind of wondering, why am I hearing rumors about these buildings, and are there plans, and who's planning them, and how is this connected to the Bayland process and so forth?
Well, I think that that's exactly what it is rumors and discussion, and none of it is
That's why it's a good thing
right now.
to hear
Yeah.
specifically from people that there is nothing. This is just an outline.
Right, I can confirm there have been no proposals to build anything on those lots in
Okay.
Bay Shore. Is that the question?
Yeah, and is there consideration for the fact that
Yes.
this is going to be the area that would join us to the Baylands, and therefore it needs to have, we have to have a lot of consideration about how that is prepared in order to be able to link? Well,
So this planning process is not intended to be, in a vacuum. So as it goes on, and as the Baylands planning process moves on as well, they're going to be integrated. So, and by integrated, I don't mean one process, but they'll be working hand in hand.
so we're not
So this
looking at
wouldn't
this.
propose something that would be then negated potentially with whatever's approved at Baylands.
So we wouldn't end up with finishing something here and then saying, oops, we can't
Correct.
connect it.
I think there would be a lot of flexibility inherent in that area as well, recognizing that, again, this planning process will be ongoing over, at least the next 8 months or so, and it'll kind of be following the Baylands trajectory as it goes to commission and council. So those processes will be able to talk to each other.
And I think, Jamie, that your point also brings up the importance of doing the precise plan, right? We want to make sure there is a plan.
We need to know that these two plans are coordinated in such a way that
Exactly.
we don't end up like this, because it's so easy to do.
Agreed.
Exactly.
If I may, this kind of, as Stuart said, brings me back to the Sierra Point, because I remember when we started some of that way back then, and we're still working that.
Still not connected.
With, okay, refresh my memory, Stuart.
I think the marina was built in 1982,
Yeah,
which
well,
is
I
like
know,
the first.
but Prince,
Bill.
Bill Prince, when he came and presented on the Sierra Point, and we had all the diagrams and the layout and everything, and we're still in the process of doing that too. So
Right.
it's kind of like all of this will be connected, hopefully, because the Bay Trail would connect into the Baylands, that would connect into Brisbane. So
I mean, the goal is the more people who participate,
Yeah.
the more of these thoughts are included in the process. The more, as with, the basis of democracy, the more people who participate, the better the final outcome is.
but it is a long
The ultimate
Discussion.
ultimate build out will be my impression based on what I've seen in the past in Brisbane. It will span decades. I would be surprised if we make a precise plan by the end. I'm not going to be surprised if we make a precise plan by sometime in 2016. But what I would be surprised is when this precise plan is finished, that the next day it starts getting built on. I mean, that's how this this works. It works with economic cycles. It works with how much money people have to be able to do something. It works with whether or not the building is currently in a business that is producing profit for somebody. I mean, all those things are considerations before anything changes.
It's up to the property owners too if they want to.
Yeah.
They can
Right.
keep
Yeah,
doing
the
what they're
property
doing.
owner- Yeah, it's because I heard rumors, that the village, it turned the village all around and stuff. Well, I don't know they want to do that. I mean, that's a lot of
Stuart, I had a question in regard to your saying this is all a plan for how we use this. So are we really talking basically about zoning and rezoning of the current and any future buildings? Because I don't think we can cherry pick exactly what kind of Or what kind, yes, but not what businesses or what we want in there.
No.
Is it more of a guideline of?
It's a guideline.
Of zoning?
What we'd like to see, maybe.
And then what's allowed within that zoning in any particular areas?
Correct. But let's go a little bit further than that even, I think. And this is, now we're getting out, now we're just getting into the area where I listen to John and Julia talk and try and repeat what they say. So Julia, please, if I actually get this wrong, help me out. So not only are we going to be looking at an overlay saying, okay, here's the kinds of things that we want, that we're willing to have zoned in this area whenever somebody would like to build that. We're going to say that, we are looking for it to be, if we want a mixed use, here's the kind of mixed use we want. And then we're going to go to something that we may use as something called a form-based code. So that way we can start having a conversation as to what a building is actually going to look like on the site. So if we sit there and say that, one of the things we want to preserve, I don't know if this is the case, but if one of the things we want to preserve is the view shed to the bay or to the lagoon, or the view shed from the lagoon up to the mountain, what envelope can buildings be in that would preserve enough of the view shed for people to be comfortable with? So we would then, and based on the form-based codes that would be developed, and I'm thinking I'm using the right term, I'm not sure, we would be able to say, okay, we would like to have a building that isn't all straight up and down on the street. We'd like to see it step back. So as you start doing those things, you start creating limitations for what people can actually put in there. Mm-hmm. You might sit there and say that we would like to see, if we're looking at mixed-use retail, we would like to say that everything on the ground floor is going to be a mixed-use retail, is going to be retail, and we're looking for stores of certain sizes. We're going to zone enough to say that we would like, we're going to zone enough on a block that you can say something is going to be, and I don't know if this is the right number or not, so don't hold me to numbers, 20,000 square feet or 30,000 square feet. And if you sit there and say, okay, what can go into a 30,000 square foot? Part of the process would be, in this whole process, is to bring in economists who can tell you what will work in retail in our community. So what they may say is, everybody, I've heard people say, we want a Trader Joe's. Well, Trader Joe's needs 25,000 square feet. Don't know if that's true or not, but let's say it's 25,000 square feet. So if we as a community say we'd like a Trader Joe's, we would know that we would need to have at least some ground floor space, excuse me, that's going to meet 25,000 square feet. The other issue that the economists would say is, do we have a retail area that could serve it, that Trader Joe's can fit in? Or maybe it's not a Trader Joe's, maybe it's a Fresh and Easy, or maybe it's a pharmacy. And okay, what kind of space does a pharmacy need? What kind of retail area do they need? I mean, those are the kinds of questions that we're going to be going through the visioning process. So it will be more than just a zoning conversation, but it will be getting to those kinds of conversations as well. And we will use the mechanisms of what we're legally allowed to encourage those kinds of uses that we think we would want to see. Have I listened well?
100%. Yes.
So what about the building that's next to the empty lot? So I know that you said the ones along Old Quarry Road are going to be overlaid with zoning for residential, and then the buildings along Park Place, with the exception, of course, of the post office, and then City Hall. The other two are going to be mixed use. So why leave out, or did I just hear you wrong? So, the one next to the empty lot? See the empty?
Oh,
See
the teachers.
The teacher's lot.
This one?
The teacher's lot.
Yeah, so next to it, that building, why would that not have some?
This here?
No, she's talking. So you have the Sturs lot, which is empty.
Yeah.
And then you have the Sturs, which has the God, I used to know what it was.
Valley.
It's a freight forwarding company, a mail house company, very Pitney Bowes. So the Pitney Bowes building is also owned by Sturs, that lot, and that is included in this process. And I think what you're asking, Madison, is if it's what is the potential for what it could be zoned for at this point?
Yeah, because I just didn't hear discussion of the lot or of that building in and of itself. We heard of pretty much every other building in this area, so I'm, wondering if there's going to be any overlaying and zoning for that.
It's not identified in our housing element.
Okay.
So an existing policy or intended policy, it hasn't been identified. So if during our visioning process it becomes a point of interest for the community, that conversation can begin. But as of yet, it's not identified as a housing site.
It just happens to be in this little.
It's in the Parkside area.
But nothing is proposed to. It would stay its current zoning.
It
Unless-
could or could not, based on what the vision of the community is.
Right.
So although it's not identified as a potential housing site at this point in time, because what the city council was required to do by law was identify enough housing to meet the RENA requirements. What they said is, let's look bigger than that. Let's look, because if we're going to be required to meet RENA requirements, and this is where we think we best can meet that, let's really think bigger. The city council said, let's think bigger than that, and let's think what can that entire area be. So, at the moment since there's no housing, Julie will say there's no proposed zoning for that. But through the visioning process, what people might say is that might be a really great,
Trader Joe's.
It might be a great spot for a Trader Joe's. It's right off of Bayshore. Is there a way to do that? So then we would sit there and say, okay, so here's the kind of zoning that we would need to make that lot in order to be a Trader Joe's or a Fresh and Easy, or pick whatever your favorite store is, or your least favorite store. But I mean, so I think what we're really looking at is as much of a blank slate that you can possibly think of. And the challenge is that there's already buildings on the ground, and everybody in this community has expressed interest for a lot of different things already. And everybody, I've been in the community now for almost 15 years, and there's been discussions, almost of every type of store, every type of business that we could possibly have. Now that we have a blank slate, everybody's putting their wishes and their worst fears on this blank slate, as you always do. And so the goal at this point is to say, okay, if this is a blank slate, what is it that the community would like to have? Let's get past what our worst fears are and what would be our best alternative. And let's talk about what our best alternative is. I mean, it's a conversation that I had with my child one time is, can we, what would be the best outcome you could have in life, and what would be your least likely outcome in life? And let's live towards the possibility of the best outcome. Let's not live in the fear of the worst outcome. And what we're doing at this point as City Council has directed is to create a visioning process to create the best outcome that this community can see for this 25 acre area. And that's what the process is. That's why people's, the rumor mill is going. That's why people are concerned, because when they say, oh, there's going to be a change, you say, okay, here's what we don't want to see. And now is the time for us to say, okay, we get what, let's talk about what we don't want to see, but also let's talk about what we do want to see, and see and how we can make what we do want to see as a community happen in this community.
Mm-hmm. It seems to me that when we look at the one side of Old Quarry Road and the park and so forth, not Old Quarry Road, Old County Road, and the park, we're looking at housing that's developed, it's districted and so forth. And then we have this other area, and if nothing else, this boundary is a means of encompassing a protected zone, defining now before it gets parceled out to other owners or other entities and goes in a million different directions. Mm-hmm. Compartmentalizing it in some way with a definitive plan that fits the vision of the city. If that's what the boundary means, that makes a lot of sense.
That's right.
Okay.
Let's look at this area holistically.
Right.
And protect us for the future.
Right,
so
right.
We know
I mean, you absolutely got it right, because once the city council says these are areas that are able to be changed into housing, because we're legally required to do that by a state. So then you get somebody who wants to develop a housing project on that site. The council is to some extent locked in. So how about if we, before we get to that point, let's as a community decide what we would like to see. So you have it exactly right, Jamie. As opposed to a piecemeal project, what the city council said, let's look at this whole area as in total and figure out what the best is for this community. And that's why, one of the reasons why the city council is very excited about having the San Mateo's Healthy Community Group come in and work with us, because the real question is how do we create a healthy community, and how do we take this 25 acres and use that as a starting point to make the entire community a healthy community.
Lyle, do you have any comments?
I do, Julia. So Stuart's mentioned a lot about community involvement. What are the plans to get the percentages up for the community involved with the visioning process? Because I'm expecting the numbers probably are somewhere around the 10%, maybe 15% community involvement. We want those numbers to be higher. What are your plans, or how do we go about doing that?
We don't have a concrete outreach strategy yet, so we are in the process of hiring a consultant group who's going to help us a lot with community engagement. But, typically, yes, we do want to have a high percentage of engagement, right? Because this is a community process, so we'd like as many community members to participate as possible. So part of that, I think, preliminarily, we've already defined we want to, broaden the ways that people can engage. So a lot of that does involve online participation in some shape or form for people who cannot come to meetings or who don't want to come to meetings. That's a new venue that's available to us that might be able to increase participation. But like I said earlier, we are hoping to be at community events where the people already are, which is often, rather than asking them to go out of their way on a Wednesday night to come out here, we go to where they are. So that'll be a part of it. And then, of course, workshops and meetings where we're focusing on certain stakeholders will certainly be a part of that as well. So we're trying to hit on as many different community groups as we can and really broaden the ways that people can share their ideas and participate as much as possible.
Will this relate to the general plan?
It's an interesting question. So I think that might be a better question for the community development director, but obviously we do have the general plan update process that it's my understanding has been ongoing for a while. So like any other
it's a long-term process for us. It's been ongoing for almost a decade now, I believe.
Yeah.
It has been subject to the Baylands process as well.
Right.
But any plan that the city adopts, has to be consistent with the general plan. So that's a big part of this is considering the general plan as well.
Right. So, let me try and translate that to a little bit. So when we say it has to be consistent with the general plan, as you know, general plans can be updated.
And amended.
And amended. But there's a process for that. There's a very public process for that. You can't just, through this process in and of itself, cannot update the general plan. What it may recommend is updates to the general plan that would then have to go through the Planning Commission and would have to go through City Council.
Right.
So what the hope is that that the community comes together and says, here's what we would like to see. And then, that should, in theory, if the community can, if 85% of the community says this is a great idea, and I would not expect 100% of people to ever agree with anything, but let's say 85% of the people say this is a great idea, you would imagine that the process of getting a general plan update to match that idea should happen through the Planning Commission and through the City Council. However, even though I say it should happen, we still have that opportunity for people to express their concerns as to the updates to the general plan, both in the Planning Commission and the City Council.
So it doesn't ever become a ballot measure change?
That would be a City Council decision as to how they would like to have the general plan amended.
I see.
Because if you remember, for the Baylands, when we did that general plan amendment, no, we haven't done one. Sorry, I misspoke. And I know I'm on TV, so I did misspeak. If there is ever going to be a general plan amendment to build something on the Baylands, the City Council has over and over again said that it would go through a general vote. If you remember with the quarry, before there was development on the quarry, there was a vote whether or not we wanted to amend the general plan. The history has been that if there is a general plan amendment of that magnitude, that it has gone to a vote. Whether that will be the case here, whether or not the city council will feel that that's what's needed, I think part of that is going to depend on how much the community is able to come out and express their desires. I mean, if there's a feeling that 85, 90% of the people are really expressing their desires, that might give an indication for the city council on how they want to proceed with any potential, not saying there will be, but any potential general plan amendment.
I really hope that, we talk a lot about social media and using social media to contact people. A lot of people don't have computers, don't use computers, don't want to, and but they have televisions. And I think this Channel 27, for years I've been petitioning that we use Channel 27 to put public service announcements up and repeat them, and do very, very much like the Gunther Ranker sales people have done over the years, which is to present a product in 4 different ways. You won't even see it really in 4 different ways, but the language is cited specifically to appeal to a particular type of shopper, in which case you can have the same rhetoric going on, but it appeals to somebody differently. So I think if we could do that using the television station, which we have, which is probably not going to be much more of a cost to us, you've got a chance of people at all hours of the day getting a public service announcement that gives them some information. I've talked about having park and recreation information up there consistently, because I think that's very useful to us, and we have that resource. I think it is more useful to us than things like Facebook, which we may have 600 members of Facebook and maybe 40 people at the most who get involved, and the rest are we call them lurkers or watchers, the seers. They're paying attention, but they just don't want to say anything. But some people don't use those resources, so having the television, that might be a good way to start.
It's a really good idea.
Talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Any more comments on?
No.
Well, I'm glad that I'm glad that the comments have been made clearly about what it is, because we are getting a lot of rumors, and they're very difficult to quell once they start.
Thank you very much, Julie.
So if you hear the rumor about the nuclear power plant, please call us.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Thank you so much.
I bet that's going to be repeated.
Did you hear?
Over and over again.
Oh my God. Okay.
Okay, we're going to move to
Old business?
old business. Revisit the values and mission statement.
So let me try and set this up, and I also need to make an apology. If we go past 8:45, I actually need to leave, but Noreen and Tricia will be here.
Okay.
But my child is up at Skyline,
Yeah.
and his class gets out, and I need to pick him up sometime close to 9 o'clock.
Okay, well, let's.
So just to let you know, if you see me leave, it's not because anything happened that I was upset with.
Well, let's all just stay on topic and.
Okay, so for the values and mission statement, I've gone through different books and I've gone through different strategic planning methods, and what they always talk about is that what you want to do is you want to have alignment between your values, your mission, and your programs and what you do. So the way I've always done it is I said, okay, let's start with our values. What are the values that we as a organization want to portray to the world? So that way we can then say our mission statement is in alignment with our values, and then we take the next step and say, are what we're doing, are the things that we do in alignment with our values and our mission? So tonight what I would like to be able to do is go through and say that here are the values that you would like to have portrayed within the Parks and Recreation programs and within the Parks and Recreation Department. What I have here is a list of 40 or so values that I pulled from a book that does mission statements, and these are the values that they had. But everybody has different values, and there may be values that you have that are not listed on here. So I had sent this out previously. I had suggested that if everybody could come up with 3 to 5, because the challenge is if you, and I apologize, Renee, if you have too many values.
No, I couldn't help myself.
Then you can't really say that we're focused, because anything that anybody does will meet within that value. So my goal is to say that we have 3 to 5 values that we're trying to focus on, that we have then create a mission statement that's based on those values. And if we can get through that tonight,
Okay.
I would be very excited, because then, as I said previously, as Jamie jumped on my what I was going to say, Thanks a lot for bringing this up earlier. The next step in the process is to then start talking about the programs we have and and how do we, as a Parks and Recreation Commission and as a Parks and Recreation staff, interact. And what are the roles that we play? You know, one of the books I was just reading recently was talking about the difference between policy and technical issues. And that, you know, there's a role, you know, the role for the commission is to deal with big policy questions. What are the, you know, what kinds of programs do we want to have? And then having staff sit there and say, okay, here, let's put those on to the best technical way possible.
Right.
I think, you know, in the past where, you know, where staff has been limited, we've looked to the Parks and Recreation Commission to fill the role of staff at times. I mean, we do that with the Derby where we have, you know, the commissioners volunteer for the Derby, they volunteer for the fire hydrant program. The goal is at some point to get the commission, if they don't want to deal with those technical issues, is to allow staff to. But that is a conversation for October and November. Tonight, what I'd like to focus on is trying to, as a commission, say here are 3 to 5 values, and then here is a, you know, we can come up with a draft statement, or you can let staff work on trying to massage that when we get to that point. Wordsmith it, not massage.
Begging your pardon, there's one thing that I have a concern about. We went over citizens' communications, and I see people sitting here, and I'm wondering, are they going to have to sit through all this, and was there some intent that you came for that you wanted to speak to?
Well, let me do it through the chair, please.
Well, please do.
Did you have something you wanted to speak? Can you come up to the microphone? Come up to the microphone.
The public won't be able to hear you.
Yeah.
Right.
And you have to address who you are, where you live.
My name is Mauro Panito, and I live on 235 San Benito Road.
Thank you.
Okay. We were just interested in, I guess, tomorrow's meeting that was for the Baylands.
Oh.
So we were in the wrong meeting.
This is the Park and Recreation
Yeah.
meeting. Okay. Oh. Oh. Okay. Oh. Okay. Okay. Do you get the star?
Yes, exactly.
It's in the star, the nights of the meetings. So
It's all also on the website, I think.
She's having trouble opening the email.
Yeah.
Is there a staff person that could be assigned to answer the question?
There isn't tonight.
thank you,
Tonight,
Caroline.
But, I mean, yeah. I mean,
Maybe
if
tomorrow.
if you send me an email with your name and the concern, I'll be more than happy to forward it. And I think I do have a card.
Oh, thank you.
I just couldn't see them sitting on the mic. They did.
If you just email me.
No, that's okay.
Yes. And we would like to see our city beautiful. It'll be a very
Okay.
interesting conversation tomorrow.
Yes,
So come back again tomorrow.
yes.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Good night.
Okay. Okay, so back to the
Okay.
mission statement. Well, do we want to go down and you give your 5? We'll just go down the,
Do you have the mission statement that I submitted, the full-blown mission statement that I wrote?
Yes, I do.
Because I kind of really liked what I wrote originally, and I think there were values on there that we had kind of discussed as a group that I don't see here, like accessibility and diversity and safety. So I really still stand by what I wrote, and I don't think we need to take that word for word, but the values mentioned in that.
if I may, you have enriching, affordable, healthy, safe, welcoming.
Perfect.
I'll pass it on so you
Wait,
can
can
read
you
it.
can you repeat those?
Should I just read what I wrote? So,
Read those values first, so he can write those.
okay, there's also dedication, enriching,
You're going to be like me, 12.
right. Well, I think some of these, like, commitment and excellence aren't necessarily, those are like more how you deliver the values. So yeah, affordable, healthy, safe, welcoming, and yeah, enriching. But there's also a section that talks about learning, play, community development for all ages and abilities. So those, I didn't read the whole statement, but those are kind of the values that are expressed. Is that what you wanted me to do? Or do you want me just to read the full statement?
Well,
So
his direction is give the
right. I mean, the goal is
value.
for me. The goal is to see is to come to a decision on like 3 to 5 values.
Right.
So what I heard was the values that you see that the commission and the programs we should be striving for are dedication, enriching, commitment, excellence, affordable, safe, welcoming, learning. I don't know if play is a value per se.
Yeah, healthy,
Yes, it is.
community development.
I had community development. I didn't have healthy in front of it, and accessible.
I think for all ages and abilities, that's more like a descriptor, but that kind of
Right, but accessible
like towards diverse.
But the value would be that things are accessible. That would be the value.
Right.
Accessible,
To everyone.
inclusive.
Yeah. Okay, so that's mine.
Okay. Teresa?
Oh, sorry. I like affordable, enriching stewardship. I like the healthy lifestyles that you suggested as well, Renee. Fun.
That's it.
It's important.
Karen?
Mine were commitment, fun, happiness, quality, stewardship. And I was looking at the ones that we had proposed, and I was just looking at Teresa's here because that ended up in front of me. And actually, I find that hers includes all of the ones that I thought were important: quality of life, fun, educational, community-based events, stewardship of our resources. I thought it did a good job of encompassing a lot of those. But yes, so those are mine.
Jamie?
I have the same ones that I had in the beginning. Inclusive, which takes care of accessibility, takes care of age-appropriate, age interaction, fun, healthy, safe.
Is affordable part of inclusive? to you?
Inclusive.
Okay, so inclusive is accessible and affordable. Okay, because I knew affordable would be one of yours.
It is. That and now we can put things like intergenerational in there, but if we say inclusive, we find a way to make that part of it.
I like that also.
Lyle?
So collaboration, fun, stewardship, innovation, and purposefulness.
I like that innovation. It's good.
Okay, let me see.
I'm just kind of compiling the top ones for us as a
The
group.
type, okay.
I heard fun.
Right. So what I've heard over and over again are fun, healthy, inclusive, because I think that reached a lot of what Madison was saying. So let me stewardship, and then I heard the term innovation. I heard a couple of people say I like that.
Very good.
So so that would be one, so if we sit there and say, okay, the 5 things we're really shooting for is something that's fun, healthy, inclusive, stewardship, and innovation. That seems now the question that I would ask is, I have an idea in my head what fun, healthy, inclusive, and innovation is.
Stewardship.
Yes,
Stewardship is the hard one for me.
Me too.
So, normally what I make my staff do when we go through this process is to define each word. I'm not going to do that because we'll be here all night because everybody will have a different definition. But the question for me is, do we want to define the word stewardship, or do we think that there is something else as a stronger or a better termed value than stewardship?
I liked what Teresa had at the end of her statement, where she showed that we're looking at all of these with the intent of building and enhancing community, and then she has the last here, responsible stewardship of our beautiful resources, which I thought was a good way to draw in what we do as far as parks.
Okay, so the way we would want to define stewardship is of beautiful resources.
I mean, because we
Well, I was
stewardship has a lot of
thinking,
definitions.
I was
including
thinking of
people.
it in terms of through some of the programs we have or some of the events, just kind of building this community involvement and people taking pride in their town and their city, and therefore caring about it enough to really take care of it and want to, whether that's going out to a lagoon cleanup or just, those are all kinds, just taking pride in the town.
Well, I mean, and that's interesting because, inclusive and community involvement are two very different things.
Yeah.
So maybe instead of the value of stewardship, maybe the value of community involvement.
Community, I had that in mind, or community care.
I'm just, as you know, I'm just trying to throw things out to try and, I'm not wed to anything other than my wife.
Community involvement that can be translated in a lot of ways, at least in my mind. And
Right.
when I say inclusive, it's sort of
It's absolute separate.
doesn't allow you to exclude
Absolutely.
anybody at any level.
And I didn't say the word community involvement to exclude the word inclusive. I use community involvement in replacement of the word stewardship.
Yes.
So what I would say is that the 5 that I'm currently hearing, and we can still change them, is fun, healthy, inclusive, community involvement, innovation.
What about community care? Because I feel like community care speaks more directly to the idea of stewardship. I think involvement, community involvement, that could be involvement in, lagoon cleanup, or that could be like an involvement in one of our programming, like a sport that we offer. So like what sort of, so if we're talking about stewardship, though, I think that's, I'm trying to figure out the root of
That's why I put community engagement, because
Okay.
it's just another way of saying
I like that.
involvement, caring.
Yeah, engagement brings all those
That's what they're
together.
doing.
I like that.
Engaged in they're engaged in the park and rec.
And that means we're providing services that our community is responding well to. So I think that's a great word to tie. Yeah, tie everything in.
Yes.
I like it.
Okay, so now I've got fun, healthy, inclusive, innovation, and community engagement as 5.
So these are our values as a commission to the community. Is that
Right.
the way I'm reading it? So to me, stewardship is about leading, right? It's about being a leader, an example of showing the community. So we as park commissioners are stewarding the community by doing these activities, by helping to plan, etc. So we're being leaders in the fact. It's not the leadership would help to get people involved in the community by us providing activities, resources, etc., for them to be involved. That's why I chose stewardship. To me, stewardship means to be a leader, leading, to steward, to shepherd.
I think innovation, though, is that also. I feel like innovation is being a leader that's also a leadership word to me, but I feel like they are different.
When I saw the word stewardship, I went back to the word respect, because having a respect for all the resources we have, be there our human fellows and citizens, our properties, our environment, everything that pertains to this community. If we have if we portray the respect that we have for everything, then we're including all of those things in terms of a stewardship. I don't know that we can really extrapolate that way, but that's what it felt like to me.
That's a good point.
I mean, we can shoot for 6 and see how that works. Have both community and stewardship and community engagement. I know I'm a little bit high. But I think if you start off with the idea that through community stewardship, Parks and Recreation will
Strive.
Through community stewardship, it sounds like
Yeah,
that's our job. We're the community stewards as opposed to.
I think that's what Lyle was saying.
Exactly.
That's why I said it that way, because I was mimicking Lyle.
You're right. Thank you, Stuart. Yes.
Okay, sorry, Jamie, but go on. You're concerned
I can see
about
us.
that.
I can see us having some stewardship. In some sense, we have a lot of people in this community that are involved in stewardship as regards the ecology of the place. This body is really devoted to the principles of providing fun,
Healthy,
and
innovative,
and
community engaged in programs.
Yes.
I think stewardship.
So there you go.
The word.
Community stewardship, Parks and Recreation will provide fun, healthy.
What is community stewardship?
Well, it's through. I mean, as Lyle said, it's through the leadership. It's through providing leadership that the Parks and Recreation Department, the Parks and Recreation Commission, is providing stewardship for providing fun, healthy, innovative, inclusive programs which engage the community.
It's like the lagoon cleanup that's coming up. We're taking the role of stewardship to go out there and put it all up and invite the citizens of Brisbane to come out and help clean up the lagoon. Take pride.
But that community stewardship is not something that is endemic only to this body. It is every person in the community. This body has a special purpose, and stewardship has some sort of.
It has like an environmental connotation.
Yes.
Not like that's not what we.
I understand that. I'm looking more towards us, being innovative and inclusive and providing programming that inspires the community to enhance their life, as opposed to we are the stewards of this. We are overlords in that kind. When you are stewards, you are protecting, taking care of something. Mm-hmm. You may not be on the inspiring end of it as much.
I agree with that, actually.
Surprise, actually.
Okay, so
You said actually, I was going to let you get away with it.
so
Have something to say, Lyle? Go ahead.
So I guess I'm somewhat perplexed of taking a leader to being an overlord to being someone who's not looking out for best interests. Stewardship's, like you said, with the word respect. You use that synonymously. Respect is not being an overlord. It's not putting a rule down. Respect is about being inclusive, what we talked about. It's about inviting all. All we're trying to do is to be a common voice for what we believe is best for the city of Brisbane and providing the guidance for that to occur.
I agree.
That's what stewardship is leading.
The best for the city of Brisbane under the principles of recreation. That's the thing that
right,
I think
so that's,
we need to kind of really make sure we center on that philosophy.
Which is why, I mean, as I said, at the moment I just have a sentence, which is through stewardship, Parks and Recreation will provide fun, healthy, innovative programs which engage the community, and I like the word inspire, which engage and inspire the community.
So here's where I'm getting caught up, and I agree with what you're getting at, Lyle, and what message that we're trying to portray. So I looked it up in Merriam-Webster, which is because stewardship to me, it is like a leadership and a responsibility, but I don't know that it's the appropriate word to use in this example, and this is why I feel this way, and Merriam-Webster did back me up on why I'm thinking like this. So it says the conducting, supervising, or managing of something, especially the careful and responsible management of something entrusted to one's care of natural resources.
That's exactly right. Stewardship of a thing.
Yeah, so to me, I'm thinking more of like stewardship in terms of natural resources, like we are stewards of the mountain, we're stewards of the lagoon, the environment, and it's not to say that we aren't those things, but in terms of that might be a more appropriate word for open space and ecology committee's mission statement, because I think that's definitely focused on stewardship. I think that we want to be leaders, and what you're saying is totally true, and I 100% back you on what the value is that we're trying to get at. I just don't think that steward is the appropriate word to use.
It's a grammatical issue, actually, Stuart. It's a grammatical issue.
Right, okay, so I just, if I can get back to what I was doing, I went to a thesaurus and came up with synonyms by I lost it.
Well, I remember when we first started this, and Karen brought a lot of mission statements from other cities, and they used steward and stewardship. 'Cause I remember I combined a lot of them together, and I remember my last statement was growth and health of community good stewards of the environment.
Well, that's exactly correct, of the environment. But we have something else here that is very important, and that is the programming and the planning and the innovation. And that's a whole concept of recreation that isn't necessarily supported by stewardship, which is
but all those are in environment,
So
recreation, after-school environment.
To the definition that was read about natural resources, right?
Yeah.
So a natural resource that I'm referring to are people, right? The natural resource of people we're stewarding over with the programs you're referring to, right? That's a natural resource. I'm not just talking about mountains and trees and butterflies. I'm talking about people as well. The programs supporting the people are the programs and activities support the environment. We do all those things. It's not just centered on programs or environment. It's about all those natural resources, including people. And if we don't consider people natural resources, then we're off the mark.
Well, I think that you're right. And one of the things that I heard you say was what would be a natural extrapolation of this, we're stewarding over. And when I hear that sense of this overness, it doesn't give me the same sense of the uplifting of what a recreation program can do, as opposed to we are over it rather than we are leading it and supporting it and growing it.
So the word I'm having a hard time with, not the aim of what is trying to be said. So things that I looked up under the source, since I know that Stuart lost it.
The source, that is.
This source. So I have attention, care, cherishing, conserving, directing, guardianship. Some of them I'm skipping over because I knew you won't like it, like governing. But there's like managing, preserving, protecting, safekeeping, salvation. So those are all different words. Supervising, sustentation. Those are different words that I think kind of all like care, community care, and especially maybe preserving or protecting are also speak to stewardship without using that specific.
Stewardship indicates in charge of.
I kind of do agree with that. I don't like starting off by saying we're in charge of and this is what we're giving you. When I personally use the word stewardship, I was thinking of it in more terms of what we're trying to foster, what we're trying to bring people to a sense of stewardship of their community, their mountain, their lagoon, their surroundings, everything the town has to offer, to value that and find value in it and therefore keep it going for future generations. I don't want to start off by saying we are the stewards and this is what we're doing for you. I would rather, that to me doesn't sound inclusive. It kind of sets us above.
Yes, that's how I feel.
I just borrow from another city, and let's just try this on for size. I'm just thinking this might include some of what we're talking about. So just consider this. So the mission of the Brisbane Parks and Recreation Department is to provide for the health, inspiration, and recreation opportunities for the people of Brisbane through the creation and maintenance of high-quality programs, facilities, and community special events. And then they put in stewardship in the end here in another sentence. Dedication and preservation of natural resources will ensure the opportunity for high-quality leisure experiences for generations to come. I thought that was an interesting combination of environmental stewardship together with the tie-in to Parks and Recreation.
And we could put innovation. I've felt a place there where we could.
I really feel that we have such a strong commitment by so many members of the community and groups in the community to be stewards of our environment. But there is no other group other than this group that has a responsibility or dedication to growing and enhancing the recreation, the philosophy of recreation, the practice the programming and so forth of recreation for the city. There is no other group. This is it. And so as much as I respect, all the other environmental resources and the way we use them, because we do use them, I still feel that if we don't take the lead on the recreation aspect of service in this community, then we're sort of taking a little bit of the responsibility that other groups are designated for specifically, as opposed to really focusing first on this one and making this as strong as we can. Yes, we do have the same values because we sit on other commissions, committees, groups, and just as citizens, we have a great dedication as a whole community to protect the environment. But as the Recreation Commission, I just feel like we really have to focus on what we can do for the recreation of the whole community. And if we start focusing on ecology, which is a value, an important one.
I don't think we're focusing on ecology.
I'm not saying that we are. I'm saying if we go in one of those directions and include that.
Yeah.
I'm afraid
we're
that
building character through our programs, and
Yes.
building character is caring about your environment and your fellow people and picking up trash or not throwing trash on the ground, or just
So how could we say that in a word? How could we say that?
Well, so the clarification here is that the word stewardship has been connotated with ecology and environment.
Yes.
That's not the definition what I used. It's not how I portrayed it. It's talking about stewardship of natural resources. That was a definition.
But we
And
have to
nothing
think
to
about
do
how
about environment.
the public will.
Can I try a
I
different?
think we're getting.
Can I try a different word?
Yeah.
So I'm again just trying to get my ideas out. Parks and Recreation will take the initiative to provide fun, healthy, innovative programs which are engaging and inspiring to create a better community.
Engaging, aspiring, and inclusive.
Yeah, I missed
Oh,
inclusive.
shoot. I provide fun, healthy, innovative, inclusive programs. Sorry. You're right. Which
Read
are
it again.
engaging.
Read it again.
Parks and Recreation will take the initiative, because I think that gets to what you're talking about.
I like
We'll
initiative.
take the initiative to provide fun, healthy, innovative, inclusive programs which are engaging and inspiring to create a better community.
Great.
Better may not be quite the right word,
That's it.
but
Whatever. The one thing that I'm asking about is Park and Recreation. Are we saying the Park and Recreation Commission?
no, I think as Parks and Recreation in general, that's the purpose of both the commission and the staff.
So that would
we
be-
have a
Joint mission.
mission.
Okay.
Well,
So-
also, just to that point, I know that the department went through a process and they came up with, and I think I have it here, a mission statement, and we want to also be inclusive of that. We don't want.
Well, I think we've talked about fun. We talked about healthy.
Okay.
I mean, one of the
Similar.
things. So I think we're getting there.
Okay.
I think it's good. Can you read it again, please, George?
Safety is on there. Was safety on there?
It's not on here, and that might be an interesting question.
Because
We
that's
might-
one of mine.
and that's an important one because we like to think that everything we do is we want to do it safely. But Parks and Recreation will take the initiative to provide fun, healthy, innovative, and inclusive programs which are engaging and inspiring to create a better community.
Create a healthy and better, or healthy. and
Create a
whatever.
healthy.
Healthier.
Well, that's right, but I said we're going to provide fun and healthy programs, so I used the word healthy there.
I see.
I could take out the word healthy there,
I think healthy would go like healthier and.
I need
make
to
a
put this
healthier
in
community.
Yeah.
What?
So no safety then.
Well, we could say that Parks and Recreation will take the initiative to provide fun, safe, innovative, inclusive programs which engage and inspire to create a healthier community.
Ooh,
I like it.
boom. I think inclusive should be like not at the end though.
Well,
Inclusive.
Inclusive is
I can
good.
put inclusive. Yeah. So the words I use to describe programs are fun, safe, innovative, and inclusive, and we could reorder those.
Yeah,
I mean, I think fun.
reordered.
Good.
I mean, I think fun. I think the goal is fun is probably from a staff perspective. That's what we shoot. That's what we strive for. Jamie has talked about the opposite of work.
The opposite of play is depression.
Right. So that's why I think fun might be the first one. If you want to say to provide fun, inclusive, innovative, and safe programs, which are engaging and inspiring to create a healthier community.
Did you mention innovative? I'm sorry.
Yes, I did.
I'm losing track of it.
No, I know. It's one of those things, if I could actually type it, would be better. But Parks and Recreation will take the initiative to provide fun, inclusive, innovative, and safe programs which are engaging and inspiring to create a healthier community.
Did we mention inspiring? Because I didn't hear us
Well, I
really
heard it.
talk about
I'm not
inspiring.
sure.
You said that.
What?
Engage and inspire, yeah.
Well, what I heard somebody up there, I heard one of the commissioners talk about, we want to inspire the community to,
You said inspiring.
It's in there.
did I say it? I did, but I
Engaging and inspiring.
I'm just wondering where that came from
think
because
it
we
came
didn't
from
really
Teresa.
discuss that inspiring that
I
much.
thought I heard
Karen and
Teresa,
Jamie.
I thought Teresa was commenting
Well, that was
about the
what we
word
agreed upon.
inspiring. And I think you're right. I think Jamie agreed that we want to inspire the community to be better.
And you know what?
And then that's when we were talking about the word in stewardship and environment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what Teresa was talking about was the idea that we want to inspire the community to take ownership.
Correct.
I think, and that's where I heard the word inspiring. And I thought it fit well with engaging and inspiring to create a healthier community.
I like healthier community a lot.
Ooh, I got two words.
Yeah.
Okay, do we like Parks and Recreation?
I like inspiring.
I don't like the transition inspiring to.
Yeah,
Okay.
inspiring what?
Word reworded a bit.
Okay, that's fine.
It's not clear as to what we're
So
inspiring.
we're good with Parks and Recreation. We'll take the initiative to provide fun, inclusive, and I don't have it written this way, so I have to keep thinking. Fun, inclusive, innovative, and safe programs which
Inspire.
Which are inspiring, or which will inspire,
which inspire, and
which do.
well,
or
see,
will.
okay. See, what you could say is which inspire a healthier community, but then we lose the word engage,
I'm not sure.
and I'm not sure if we want to do that.
Will inspire a healthier and more engaged community.
Inspire, which inspire.
Which will or which do.
Which will, or do. Okay, which will or do inspire.
Lead to.
Well, I think one word will or do. I think that leads to the same thing as lead to. My
Whatever
personal
you want to do.
whatever. And I would say the same thing. Whatever you want to say, which lead to. Programs which
Will
will inspire
A healthier and more engaged.
engaged
a
community.
healthier and more engaged community.
Now let's wrap it all up one more time.
Sure.
In a pretty package, please.
Okay, so, when I give this to Tricia to type, she's going to kill me. Parks and Recreation will take the initiative to provide fun, inclusive, innovative, and safe programs which inspire
Which will inspire
which will inspire
a more.
a healthier and more engaged community.
I like it all, but would you consider thinking of saying the mission?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, we should say that.
Okay.
The mission of Parks and Recreation in Brisbane, so that way people know where we are.
Park and Recreation what?
Well, it's Parks and Recreation. I mean, that way it's inclusive of everything.
Staff and
It's inclusive of staff,
Right.
Okay.
the department, the commission.
Park
Okay.
and Recreation Services.
Park and
Park and
Recreation
Recreation
mission
Services,
statement.
that's fine,
Yeah, but it
services
should
in
say
Brisbane.
Park and
We'll take the
Recreation.
initiative, I'm sorry, I cut you off, I apologize.
I like services
Right,
or.
and that's why I just wrote that one down.
Okay. Start over. Sorry.
That's fine. The mission.
Give him a new piece of paper.
The mission of Parks and Recreation Services in Brisbane, R2,
Mission
is to
Stu.
hold on. I lost it because I had the word initiate, and that doesn't fit now.
Is to provide.
Is to provide.
Okay, that's what you had before.
But I think when you start talking about provide, we lose the idea of leadership.
Oh, it's
mean,
take the initiative. Right. Okay.
To
The mission of the park
mission of the Parks and Recreation in Brisbane
is to initiate.
is to initiate. No, well, is to
Initiate is not enough. It's like giving it a start, but you're not.
Yeah.
How about is to
Following through.
engage and inspire that end part in the beginning, to engage or
Oh, okay.
your communities
Through.
through blah, 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 blah.
Recreation. Okay, so the mission, I'm rewriting it now. Not that it's going to make any difference. The
Because that gets to the root first.
The mission of the Parks and Recreation Services in Brisbane
Is to inspire.
Is to engage and
is
inspire.
to engage
And inspire.
and inspire a healthier
Healthier community
through
through, yeah.
taking the initiative,
Taking
taking the initiative, taking
Do we need to
taking the
leave?
initiative, I
Do
think.
we
I
need
don't
to
think
take-
I think that's where you're caught
Okay.
out, taking the initiative.
It's
through,
too wordy now.
okay,
Through fun, play,
through
Really good when you said it back
fun,
4 sentences.
inclusive, through fun, inclusive, innovative, and safe
Programming. Programming.
programming.
And instead of saying through, we could say by providing.
By providing.
Yes.
I like that, by providing.
And the question is, does that get to, Lyle, does that, by providing, does that get to your idea of leadership?
It's falling short of it. In my words, it's falling short of it. Again, to me, we've oversimplified it with putting these words in now. We're losing the values again. So the values we had come up with 6 values. Are the values still on the mission statement?
Right, so the values that we talked about were healthy,
Inclusive, yes.
healthy community,
Yes, yeah.
fun, inclusive, innovative, safe, and some sense of leadership.
Right.
And
Innovation is
what's
leadership.
missing at the moment is that idea of some sense of leadership.
Right.
So the question is by providing, giving enough of that sense of leadership. And I'm looking at your face and I'm getting the sense, no.
No.
providing and inspiring or leading.
Inspiring, innovation,
I know, but
engaging.
everybody else got to put their values in, so Lyle needs to get his in there. That's only fair.
It's not about, it's about what's right, what
Yeah.
sounds right. But I think if you feel that leadership comes through in that statement to you, again, this is our, with staff's mission, right? We are leaders. We've chosen the position to be up here to lead, to be involved, right? And if you believe that that's coming through in that mission statement, I'm with that. It doesn't strike me as leadership is coming through that statement, right?
As leaders, our mission for the
What?
Parks and Recreation Services.
That then, I think to Jamie's point, that becomes overlordish.
Well, but I'm,
That's overlordish.
Well, it's an interesting question because when you say as leaders, which is what you are,
We are.
and I mean,
We're more collaborative, aren't we?
but
Someone has to lead, someone has to follow. There's always got to be a leader.
yeah, I mean,
In some respects. So we're leading.
You guys took in the initiative to sit here tonight,
Yes.
and I think this is. I'm trying to get to Lyle's comments. Is you guys took the initiative. You guys stepped forward, and you took a different role than the average person in the community. By sitting here, by being at all these meetings, you do have a different role. You collaborate with the community. You seek guidance from the community, but at the same time, you have a different role than the average person sitting in the audience.
But this is not just for us.
I was
This is
saying,
Right, but
it's not about us.
It does
It's
define.
the whole. It's not our mission statement.
Yeah.
It's
But it's the department.
our mission statement.
Well, it's the Parks and Recreation.
Park and Recreation staff and commission.
Right.
It is the leadership.
And I would hope that the community sees us as, sees the staff as leaders of the program.
Mm-hmm.
We're not participants in the program. We're here to lead the programs. So I would say that if staff is not taking a leadership role in what we're providing, then we have a different issue entirely.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that if Parks and Recreation Commission isn't taking a leadership role in defining what kinds of programs we should be providing, then what are we
Right.
other than drinking coffee every once a month? What are we doing? That's why I think if you sit there and say, and I can't remember what I said.
Yeah.
Innovation strikes me as being a leader at the forefront, but I think can you read it one more time and we can figure out another place where we can grammatically insert
Excuse
that?
me. I'm listening to all this, and then I keep going back to the last thing Teresa said, and fostering involved citizenship and responsible stewardship of our beautiful resources. It just kind of like closes it all up.
I think that's
beautiful.
really
It is,
security.
but
I don't know.
It goes
Sorry,
somewhere
Teresa.
else. It's not the focus of this
Well,
committee and staff. I like it,
I
but it's
like
not
it, and
there.
I think it goes with recreation.
Doesn't go here.
I think it kind of addresses the parks part, because we have a lot of the community services in what we have already, but I don't see we have park and rec facilities as well.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to figure out how to include that as well.
Can you read? I felt like we were really close there.
And
So
watch
can
out,
we-
Tricia, the smoke's starting to come.
Yeah.
Can we read what we have now and see if there? I think we can fit that leadership essence in there fairly easily. We just need to determine where it's going to go and what the word is going to be. But I think we were getting very, very close. I don't want to see us backpedal, and I think Lyle's main point of having that leadership feel is important, and I think we're right there.
Because it is 8:14. So
You said
I'm
eight.
just,
Well, I'm going to leave it. It doesn't mean that
I know,
Noreen will.
but
I mean, so what I have written right now is the mission of Parks and Recreation Services in Brisbane is to engage and inspire a healthier community by providing fun, inclusive, innovative, and safe programming. A different way to say that may be, as leaders, our mission as leaders as leaders of Parks and Recreation Services in Brisbane, our mission is to engage.
Serve to be leaders by engaging and you could say
so we serve to be leaders.
No,
No. You're right.
Grammatically, it's
I don't know.
way over the.
but as
Right.
leaders, I don't like it in the
That's
beginning
fine.
either.
The other thing is it said programming, not recreation programming. I think it provide programming.
Okay, recreation programming.
Strives for leadership through.
no. I don't like leadership. I don't like leadership.
So what other word do we like?
That's why, citizenship, stewardship.
Innovation to me really.
I'm
gets
sorry,
at that.
Stuart.
I don't know.
Is it possible for you to read it again slowly?
Sure.
Maybe we should write it down so we know what we're working with.
Do you want me to type it and we can put it up on the screen?
Yes.
Or just put it up there so we know what we're looking at.
I'll read it again. Slowly.
And it said, read it again slowly, and Karen will see if she's got it written down. I'll look over her shoulder.
Sure. The mission of Parks and Recreation Services in Brisbane is to engage and inspire a healthier community by providing fun, inclusive, innovative, and safe recreation programming.
I like it.
I like it.
I like it.
Recreation program. How about safe recreation programs and park facilities?
That I don't think it gets wordy there.
Well,
But it includes the idea of parks.
right, because all we have is recreation. There's no park mentioned other than the title, yeah? Right?
Recreation and park programming, because that includes the protection of the parks. 'Cause
Recreation and parks programming.
Parks program.
Programs.
It's not
sure.
all
Sorry, programs.
though.
Programs, is it programs now?
So it would be in safe recreation and park programs.
Well, we do have facilities, and they are part of our
Did I
program.
say and facilities? or-
Wait, can you pull up how I wrote it in my initial? I think I spoke to
You
all
said
those.
the Brisbane Parks and Recreation Department is dedicated to enriching the lives of residents by providing affordable, healthy, safe, and welcoming parks, facilities, and recreation programs to foster or promote learning, play, and community development amongst all ages and abilities.
So a little wordy, but I think it highlights parks, facilities, and programs. So maybe we can take a snippet.
And so many of your other words can come together.
Oh, well, they
Sorry.
can.
can come together under the word inclusive. Yeah.
I just knew I had mentioned all
Right,
three of
okay.
those things, so I think we should try and
Safe.
include
There could
the.
be facilities too.
Yes. Well, all recreation
facilities.
programming involves the use of your facilities, your materials, your staff, and your parks. It's endemic to it.
If we add
I think if we just swap out the those 3 words that Madison offered and put that towards the end of the statement, that we may be a little bit closer.
Yes.
Do you want me to read it with those
Yes,
additional
please.
words?
Yeah.
The mission of Parks and Recreation Services in Brisbane is to engage and inspire a healthier community by providing fun, inclusive, innovative, and safe parks, facilities, and programs.
Love it.
Oh, what's everybody think?
I'm a little reticent
good.
to one word, and it's only because I'm not certain of how it's interpreted. Inspire, encourage a healthier community,
We have
as opposed to inspire and encourage.
we have engaged and inspire as opposed to the word
Thank you.
encourage.
Engage and inspire. I don't know the exact words, but would be the whole of the community. Yes, we do have as one of the goals a healthier community.
Well, inclusive already
I
means
really
the
don't.
whole
You know, I'm
of the
really not hung
community.
on any one of those things because I think everything else in there is really good. And I think the inclusive takes care of the affordable, which Madison brought up affordable again, and it's one other thing I want to make sure is in there. So I think it's good.
I like it.
I think it's great.
Community because it means a lot of different things.
Okay.
So, and for me, when I think about the terms to engage and inspire a healthier community, I think to some extent that does get to the idea that we're taking that leadership
I agree.
I
role.
see.
And I know it's not
Being
quite
blatant.
100% there, but I think it gets an essence.
It has an essence, yes, I agree. It's got an essence to it, yeah.
I move to adopt
Second.
the
Wait.
We'll call the question.
Wait. Is everybody happy with that?
we would find out.
So we're going to find out. We
We would
just-
find
I
out.
want to know. I
Well,
just
we
want to
can
kind of
discuss
look. This
it
is
now.
Yeah, we have a motion. We have a second. Now we have a call the question.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So
You have a vote.
I
Well,
move.
remember, go through the chair. Let's kind of go
We'll
through
go-
the
go
chair.
ahead.
Okay, guys?
Call the question and
Okay, do you want to move to adopt?
Okay, do we have a motion to adopt the mission statement, and would you please read it?
The mission of Parks and Recreation Services in Brisbane is to engage and inspire a healthier community by providing fun, inclusive, innovative, and safe parks, facilities, and programs.
I make a motion to adopt said mission statement. What?
I'm so sorry. I must not have heard something. I'm sorry. Would you say it one more time, please?
The mission of Parks and Recreation Services in Brisbane is to engage and inspire a healthier community by providing fun, inclusive, innovative, and safe parks, facilities, and programs.
Okay, yes. Thank you.
Okay.
We have no motion.
Second.
Have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone oppose? Okay. We have a new mission
How do you
statement.
like that?
Okay, so
An action. That
Good
is
job.
an action.
okay, so the next step in the process is we'll bring that back next month, and with that we'll bring back the, as I said, we'll bring back the municipal code as it relates to the Parks and Recreation Commission. We'll bring back the resolution that the City Council passed as it regards to what they're expecting from their commissions, and we'll bring back a list of all the programs that we do, and then we can start talking about, are there things that we're not doing that meet this mission that we should be doing? Are there things that we're doing that don't meet our mission any longer, and we should be thinking about changing what we do? So that would be the next step in this process, so that way we can align what we're doing as a department and what you guys are working on as a commission as to what our mission is.
Okay.
And we might also want to look at some of our committees and see if our committees are in alignment with what they're doing.
Right.
And maybe we take that as another step.
Through the chair, real quick.
Yes.
So I'm only interjecting here because I know you're running short on time and there is an appropriate place to bring this up, but I don't want to miss it. So I was under the impression that we were due for elections and have been for some time, and I'm wondering at what point. I feel like our mission statement got bumped back a bunch of meetings, and I'm wondering when we're going to get to nominating positions.
Sure. So, I mean, normally I would say that you're correct. Renee was chosen as chair.
Not that I don't love Renee.
was chosen as chair in April of 2014. They normally you sit for 1 year. So yes, we've been postponing this for quite a while. There was various reasons that we were postponing this in life. There are 3 members whose terms come up in January. And so, so the question is, we can add that. It would come up under commission calendar. So we could either add that to the next meeting and appoint a new chair at the next, chair and vice chair at the next meeting, or you can wait until January, February to see who's going to be on the commission at that time.
That might make more sense.
I mean, that's your choice. Whoever the chair is the chair, and we will be happy to work with whoever you pick. So you can either do it next month, or you can say that, there's 3 or more people.
Yeah, there might
or
be
may
a
not
4th
be.
person.
There might.
Yeah, so then there'd be
And
now
we have
4.
waited 5 months already, and if we look back over the last 8 years, and we start looking at who chairs have been and what's our progress been, I think we can't keep doing that for one reason or another. I mean, one of us could die tomorrow, and then, well, none of us can make predictions on time.
Sure, if you want to bring that at the next meeting, if the commission says that that's what they would like to see. I have staff has, no real dog in this fight.
Would we adjust then that the next election, if we had an election in October, that means that the next election period would be October.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I understand what Jamie is saying. I do think, though, that there could be a lot of shifts in this commission, and I also think January you start with a new calendar year, but I will be happy either way. It doesn't matter that much to me. I just didn't want to let the issue keep going, since I knew it's kind of been a while and we haven't brought it up. So.
Okay. Well, through the chair, there's one issue I'd like to have discussed while Stuart's here.
Okay, well, can I go down the agenda? I'm still, we're on reports, chairperson. I have nothing to discuss right now. I haven't received anything. The only thing I received, it's written communications, which we all got, and we'll get to that. Okay, so let's go to subcommittees real quick. Subcommittee reports, is there any?
I don't think we've had
We met.
a meeting.
We met.
Okay.
We met regarding hydrants.
Events,
Okay.
day in the park,
Um,
and Derby, I believe.
Oh yeah, Derby did meet.
Yeah.
I'll just start with hydrants, and then you want to do like Derby or.
okay.
Noreen and Jamie and I all met. We discussed hydrants. We kind of looked at how we're going to run this year compared to last year, process for, getting things photographed. We kind of have a good idea for how it's going to run. So we know, what areas we needed to improve from last year. So we're getting together the flyer. We have going to use the same supplier for a lot of the supplies, and then also we already have the list of hydrants that just need some updating a little bit, and then we also have the instructions. So it should be, I know that I think Stuart mentioned it's the second weekend in October, and we're still trying to determine whether we're taking reservations or not. Did you come to a conclusion on what you wanted to do with that?
Yeah, just for the sake of anticipating how many people to expect at the event and how many supplies to purchase, I think we will go ahead with taking reservations.
Great.
I've had a few inquiries already.
Great. So Noreen, instead of me managing that, since I pretty much did all that myself last year, it's great that we have a staff person who is willing to take that on, which is, how it should be. So that's fantastic. So she'll be managing the reservations coming in, and so the public knows we don't have any blank hydrants. Sorry to disappoint. Those need to go through. those need to go through the North County Fire Authority. We did have one possible one, but that's already been reserved. So we are really trying to, the whole purpose of the event is to maintain our hydrants. And so we have quite a few of them, and we want to make sure that we take good care of the ones that we already do have painted. And then, right, the stewardship. And then, after that, once most of them are updated, then we can look to doing more hydrants, and those will probably be on the higher streets like Kings and Humboldt that were replaced. So those also, we have to get approval on those from North County Fire Authority. So just for right now, we want to update the ones that need some care. So, yep. Do you have anything to add, Jamie?
Something that was just an aside, other than what we've already discussed. I had company. And my family's been here before. They've been into town many times. I don't know why all of a sudden this was mentioned, but we were driving up San Bruno, and they said, they have the cutest fire hydrants. And it struck me so funny that after all these years of coming in and out of town, they all of a sudden noticed them.
Is there fresh?
I wondered if it was because they're freshly painted or not, that they were more evident, but it struck me funny.
I was talking to Mitch Bull, actually, just like in a side conversation, and I know he wanted to get some together for economic development, some sort of pamphlet that kind of talks about visitation or like key things in our city for people who are visiting, a map, talking about our history. And so I talked to him and I said it would be really great to partner up and do like a little walking map of the hydrants and who they are, and maybe like some background story about who painted them or whatever. That wasn't like a super serious conversation, but it was just brought up, so that could be something that we could look into for people that are guests here. Would be great for them. Yeah. So that's all I have.
Okay. Any other subcommittees? Okay. Well, we met for Day in the Park and the Derby.
Oh, I missed it.
Yeah, and got Noreen up to par, and we're going to meet again, I believe possibly next week, to finalize everything, because the event is October 3rd, with the DJ and other events that we're going to be having. We're still trying to get the zip line. Don't know if that's going to happen, but it's possibly. And the Derby, we're going to do a little bit more improvements, get different T-shirts, trophies. We've had the same trophies for 5 years now, so we're going to change it up a little bit. So those things were all discussed.
Can we do a display of the cars? Can we show them somewhere?
Car show?
Yeah, kind of like, car show. I'd like to see them because the kids spend a lot of time on them, and then they go down the hill and then they're gone.
Well, we usually keep them out there so
Oh,
people can
they're
walk.
out?
Yeah, walk by and see them. But then when the race is done, and after the festival is over, then they usually do take their cars home.
I think we were talking about something where we would do like awards for maybe like craziest driver or like coolest design, so that could kind of maybe bring in the design of the cars.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah. Anything else on the Derby? Did we?
We're kind of. If you want to sponsor, let us know, because we had Trillium, I think, not sponsor as many or not be a sponsor this year. Don't quote me, but that's so we want everyone who wants to race to be able to afford to race. We want cars for the people who want to race. So the kids really do need the support. They need sponsors, and we would be honored, to have more sponsors if anyone feels so inclined.
What is the cost?
I think it's $200, right?
Trish, how many do we have signed up so far? Do you know?
And what does that cover?
That covers the kit.
Okay.
For the car.
And is there an entry fee?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we'll check with him, and we might have to touch base, okay, we're going to go to setting subcommittees. Maybe we should have a subcommittee on the Derby.
I'd like to ask that before we do that, while Stuart is here, that we have an opportunity to speak to Commission Matters.
Well, I'm trying to get down there, so let's round this up, and let's just move along. because I don't want to, we already amended the agenda. Let's just, everybody stay on topic. Okay, subcommittees. I know the Day in the Park needs to meet. How about the Derby? Anybody else?
Public art, second half of the month.
Hydrants.
Okay.
Seniors,
Teens.
yes.
Everybody.
Call us all up, Trish.
Yeah. Okay, that's subcommittee meetings. Okay, commissioners?
There's one thing that I really think that it requires our thinking about a little bit, and that's this issue of the concerts in the park and probably some miscommunication that occurred, but it came out as being as a negative, and I don't think it has to be. The day before the subcommittee meeting on the concerts in the park, I was down at 7 Mile and met Vanessa, and she said, "Oh, I'll see you tomorrow. We'll be at the subcommittee meeting." I said, "Oh, great." And then she said, "Oh, and I'm going to bring Dennis over so that he can talk to you." And he went on about all the bookings he was going to do and so forth and so on. And I was kind of surprised because I thought what our initial discussion was that they wanted to give us some input, and input would have been great. I also was really concerned when I heard what his thoughts were that night with the fact that it was, in fact, a job, and that our turning over this kind of responsibility to someone without having an RFP process and bidding would get us into some trouble. I didn't say anything to him that night because it wasn't appropriate, but at the meeting the next day when we started, I started right away with that. Rather than get into all the things he wanted to do, I said, you know, the best thing you can do for us is to give us a list of good bands, because those are the things that we're needing to have some connection with. And afterwards, I found out that they were upset with, well, what were we doing there? Why did we have to come? And I didn't know I hadn't invited them. I didn't know what they had been told before. I heard subsequently to that there was a big upheaval about them being attacked, you know, at that meeting, when in fact it didn't seem like the thing. What I was trying to do was to prevent us from letting them think that we could give them the authority to run with something that was a city service and would have had to go through an RFP process. So as it was, after that last commission meeting, I happened to meet Dennis and spoke to him about it. And he said, no, I understood. I just didn't know why I was there. He said, I thought I was going to be there to get, you know, charge of the booking, so I would be booking for the city as well as booking for 7 Mile, and I could do deals and so forth and that. And that, in fact, is exactly what he had said the night before to me, the night before the meeting, which I knew would then be a problem for us, and I tried to not have them have that happen at that meeting of the subcommittee. When I talked to him that night, he seemed to have, he got it. You know, he said, oh, I understand now. And I happened to have talked also to a couple of members of the public who know them and saw them the same day that they came out of that meeting and said they were just confused about why they were there. And I said, well, you know, from our perspective, we were looking for bands. From his perspective, he saw that he would have a different role. When I finished talking to him that night, the last time I spoke to him, and I thought it was all, he understood that it would be a normal RFP process and he would have to bid against other people who wanted this job. He then expressed how wonderful it would be because he had great plans about doing a jazz and art and fair thing in the park and so forth. And I said, well, that would go through the event subcommittee of the commission. And we, in fact, are working on doing that now, looking for a consultant that will help us to do that. But we're looking for a consultant who has done things like the Pumpkin Patch in Half Moon Bay and Sausalito Art and Wine and so forth. I said, so not somebody who's just, you know, starting out. That we're looking for a major player at this point. But he was looking as if this could be his jumping off point to start an activity. So I think that was his disappointment, and somehow there was a miscommunication about what their place could be. And I think it just, that's a good lesson for us. When people want to do something for us, if it involves in any way negotiating on behalf of the city or money or anything of the sort, we really can't say sure unless it goes through the appropriate channels. So I think that's what happened, and it didn't get translated that way, but that was the crux of it.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Any other commissioners?
I know that you and I talked to Renee about. Oh, never mind. I'm waiting till written communications.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. On to staff. Programs report.
Oh, wait. No, I did have something, actually. Sorry. This is not related to what I was just about to say. The woman who helped us with the photography for the hydrants exhibit really wants to do a photography class, and she's been wanting to do it for like 3 months, and not to throw Steve under the bus, but I had given him her phone number for him to call, and I thought that they had arranged it, but she actually had sent me another text saying, I never heard from him, I really still want to teach this class, please, how can we do this? So I would love to link you guys up with her and give you the appropriate phone number, because I think we don't have people that necessarily come all too often wanting to teach something, and she really, really wants to do something. So
Good.
You can feel free to forward her contact information to me, and I'll follow up with her.
Perfect.
And we'll go from there.
Great.
Just to set the record straight on that, probably 3 months ago, that's when we were going
Right, I
through all
told
that
her that.
internal reorganization, so something.
Yeah,
just-
I let her know. I was like, there's a lot going on. So he probably just had a lot on his plate.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. So programs report.
So we have just one new class that's going to be starting in October. I believe that Michonne's yoga, she's leaving, so we're just finding something to hopefully take the place of her class. It's ballet and conditioning with Rudy. It's a very interesting sounding class. It's not strictly ballet. He's going to do 3 days a week. Tuesdays are going to be floor bar and strengthening, and then Thursdays will be core. Excuse me, core. And then Fridays will be beginner adult ballet. He's very well, he is a professionally trained ballet dancer who comes from San Francisco Ballet.
Wow.
He also owns and runs his own ballet studio in Mountain View, and there is a website that I put on the flyer. He's got his own website. He's very, very interesting.
Great.
I found this class to sound like I'm hoping that everybody kind of gloms onto it, because I think it's going to be really cool.
So what's the time?
It's going to be Tuesdays and Thursday mornings from 8:40 to 8:40 to 9:40, and Fridays from 8:30 to 9:30. He's trying to, we're trying to fill that spot for Michonne, but I think if there's interest, he actually wants to try to maybe do something in the nighttime up at Mission Blue or something.
How did we get connected with him? Does he?
He came to us.
I'll also add his wife, Yvetta, has the current showcase in the conference room here at City Hall. So they came to put the art up last week, and we started talking, and then he came into the office this week to set up the class.
Great.
So registration does open next Tuesday, and the class begins. It's a 5-week session, 3 days a week. So session 1 will last, it's 15 classes, and it's $159 for residents.
That is great.
And he's also doing drop-ins as well.
15 classes?
What?
15 classes that's very good.
Yeah.
That's so great.
And he will do drop-ins at $13 a drop-in. So if you don't want to do one of the classes during the week, you don't have to do that. But again, the timing is kind of I think he would do great if he had, but I think if this goes over, he might be able to do something later in the evening as well. He's very excited. He really wants to bring his style here.
I have interest in evening, so tell him.
Yeah.
If he does an
Yeah, a lot of
evening,
people-
I will do it.
Yeah. So,
Very interesting. Good.
Okay.
And also, we're losing our Zumba Gold.
yes, we are also losing Zumba Gold.
Because
So
luckily-
Noreen is in the process of working on some fun new things, hopefully, that we can get in here, because, yeah, Zumba Gold is also going.
You have water Zumba coming, though, right?
Yeah, we could use some more people to sign up for that, because she won't do it with less than 10.
How many do you have?
6.
I'll get the word.
Who's the teacher?
What is her name? Rojas? Claudia Rojas, I believe.
Okay.
Or Rodas.
How
Excuse me.
much?
Rodas, pardon me.
And the time?
Yeah, sorry. I can't recall exactly how much it is.
It's at night. It's in the evening.
It's in the evenings, Monday evenings from 6 to 7, I believe, starting on the 14th.
Okay.
Okay.
So
And that's it?
that's it for now.
Okay, commission matters.
Written communications, right?
Okay. Written communications, I got a letter from, well, we all got from a resident, and it has to do with garbage in the park. It was over Labor Day weekend the next day, and there was a lot of trash and garbage, and how we're going to address this. So,
I saw this same issue for the same date, also addressed by somebody on the residence page.
yes.
I got another email, too.
Yes.
Separate.
So, we've talked to staff. Do you want to highlight on this?
As you know, I mean, it was a 3-day weekend. We do have Public Works go out and clean up the park after, we have them. I believe they go out on, in the mornings to keep the park clean. The challenge is always when they start and when people start using the park, walking through it. Our city manager walked through the park that day, and there was garbage at the park, but there was also a lot of bags. So they tried. People did try to clean it up. I know the recommendation has been to do a refundable deposit for that. We're able to do that at Mission Blue because we have somebody at Mission Blue during that period of time when the facility is rented. A park is not, unless we're going to have somebody who's going to be at the park as a paid person to monitor what happens at the park, it would be nearly impossible for us to prove that it happened by the party versus somebody, if they say, oh no, we left it clean, and it must have happened in the evening after we left, without us having somebody there to be able to say, no, it happened during this time. It becomes a challenge for us. I mean, I think what we need to do is just talk to Public Works about what their schedule for cleaning the park is after parties. Or if we want to pay somebody to, be there after parties are done to clean the park. The challenge, but we would have to pass that cost on to the people who are providing the party.
This is a suggestion. It seemed like the trash receptacles were full, or they're too small. Maybe somebody has too much garbage. Is there any way maybe we can have a larger receptacle out there?
I mean, we can look at what the
Maybe more
cost
than
is.
that. And maybe that's one solution. Also, another suggestion, when Public Works opens up the bathrooms in the morning, just a look around. I'm
They do.
sure that they do
They do.
clean up and everything, but
They,
just
more
effort to do it again.
Yeah, I mean, the challenge that I think the Public Works is facing, they are, again, a person down in that area.
I have an idea. We could use the whole, park the. This is an analogy. You know how we park the police vehicles near the stop signs, and there's nobody in them. We could have this fee that we say, if you don't leave your space clean, there's X amount of dollars that we will charge you, and we may not have the capacity to enforce that, but maybe it comes across a little bit more serious to the applicant, and maybe they don't know how we may or may not enforce it, but they at least it's there written, and they know that we're very serious about it, and we're conscious, and we're looking for that. So that might also help to deter, even if we really have no tangible way to prove that it's there.
The one thing I'd like to add too is that if the garbage is sitting there overnight, if it's overflowing and you have like plastic bags on top or overflowing, and the garbage is sitting there overnight and not going to be picked up until the following morning, you really don't know if animals haven't gotten into the bags and drug the stuff all over the park, if teenagers went through and created mayhem after 10 or something. So I think probably the root of the problem is just getting the trash picked up in a more timely manner.
Possibly.
That's my opinion.
Lids. I mean, even up where I live.
Or a large lidded container.
Even up where I live, and they have lids on the containers. Those little raccoons are amazing. They get in there.
There have been a lot more animal sightings.
They're really good
too.
dumpster divers. But I just want the citizen to know we do acknowledge your letter, and
absolutely,
it has been passed on to staff and Public Works.
And although I think it really is important for us to make clear to the applicant how essential it is not to leave, because they talked about other things. Like, they didn't just talk about this one instance. They talked about other things where they saw blatant leaving of trash. So I think we just need to, maybe we need more signage, or we need to really, just because there's more trash cans, if this is an issue where people, are choosing not to put their trash in the trash can just because, then just because we put more trash cans out doesn't mean they're going to use them. And I'm sure maybe in this case it was that there was just not enough for the demand, but we might be able to work in something in the language of the application that kind of talks about trash, and maybe we need some signs in the park.
But to those people, they thought that they cleaned up. They bagged it, they put it by the trash can, and then there's trash out on the park. So what happened?
Well,
I
that's
don't
your
know.
point, Rich,
Yeah,
is very
yeah,
good, is they
yeah,
bagged
you
it
don't
and
know.
they put it next to the
Yeah.
can. Concerts in the park, we have the same
Yeah,
problem.
yeah.
The trash barrels are not big enough.
Yeah.
We have things overflowing,
So we might
so
need
it drops
bigger
off
ones.
and it's on the side.
Yeah. Okay.
I think a refundable deposit, even if it's a hollow threat, will possibly keep it in people's mind that they need to have good stewardship.
Or they may take their trash with them. They may say, hey, this is full. We'll go throw it away somewhere else.
Yeah.
So if you would like to change a fee, that would need to go through council. You need to make a recommendation.
Right.
So we could put that on the October calendar agenda for you to make a recommendation to council as to the fee.
Let's just talk about it.
Is there any way to have extra barrels that may not be used all the time, but behind the restrooms or something, but put out for?
I mean, we
things of
could, but the challenge is who's going to put them out when they're needed. Anything we're going to do is going to cost extra money, and as you know, we don't have extra money at this time. I mean, if the Parks and Recreation Commission would want to make a recommendation to the city council as to having additional staff available for park maintenance, I think that would be an appropriate thing for the Parks and Recreation Commission to make a recommendation on, and we can bring that back to you at the October meeting.
Let's talk about that
You
then.
can also take a look at the day in the park and see how the trash goes that day. We'll get a good idea.
We put a lot of people, I mean,
But we have staff.
we have a lot of staff
too.
out for a day in the
See,
park. We spend a lot of money for staff time on that day.
Yeah,
So that's probably not the
really,
best analogy.
Okay.
But this is, over the weekends, we don't have staff who go there in the evening to pick up trash. And if we did, I can ask Public Works what that would cost us. It's probably a minimum 2-hour call out for somebody to do that.
it'd be cheaper to buy garbage cans.
This is one of those questions. It's a policy question on how we want to do that. The city, and if you want to make a recommendation to the city council as to what you think is a solution, more than we can bring this back
On
to
the
the
agenda.
Why not?
Okay, so Commissioner Calendar.
You got to go.
Yeah,
I know. I just texted him. I'll be leaving in 5 minutes.
okay.
Hopefully he'll
Commissioner
get it because
Calendar.
Skyline has horrible cell reception.
Okay,
Yes, it does.
okay, Commissioner
So-
Calendar.
So we can talk about community park garbage as
Okay.
one item, and we can talk about programming
Okay.
as the other item. I think those two might actually.
And then our subcommittees will come.
Oh, and the third one is I didn't get a full understanding on whether or not you wanted to bring back the chair at the next meeting or not. I heard I heard different opinions, but I did not hear a definitive answer. If you want us to bring back the chair of the to appoint a new chair.
I think we need to look at the calendar for the year and think about when the turnover occurs and when the terms are up, and look at what time of year does it make sense to do this, and then keep it consistent.
I mean, terms are up in January, I believe.
Right.
It's always a challenge as to when there's enough people who apply for the positions as to when we actually turn over commissioners. That's.
And
I
some
mean, I
of
think
the,
last time, Jamie, you got appointed April, May. I know Lyle got appointed at a different time. I mean, it's just the challenge. I think if you pick a certain month of the year to say, okay, every, be it October, be it January, whoever's on the commission at that time picks the chair. Because if you're trying to match it up to when you have new turnover, it may be difficult because it's, just the timing of those appointments.
With so
might be
few of us
completely-
here, though, and 4 people possibly leaving in January, does it make sense to appoint possibly one of those 4 people who?
You could appoint one of those
Just throwing
4.
this out as a question, because this
Yeah,
is
I mean,
all
you
new.
could appoint one of those 4, and if one of those 4 leaves, you appoint a new one when that, or the vice chair. I mean, what you might want to do is say, the vice chair would be somebody who's not up for reappointment. I mean, that might be the way you do it, and that way, if then the vice chair can step into the chair, and you then can reappoint a vice chair. I mean, that might be a solution.
I'd rather just wait.
Or you can wait. I mean, as I said, as staff, it's your decision how you want to do that.
Well, I think that I leaves say Lyle let's and I go, probably, because we've been waiting and waiting, and we'll set another date, and we'll set another. Let's just go. It's like the toss of the coin. Let's go.
oh no, not that toss of that coin again. Oh no, we're not going. We're not going there.
And I still,
In fact,
and I still have yet to hear a definitive answer. I've heard 2 people say, let it go. I've heard 1 person say, let's do it.
okay.
What?
I'm awaiting.
I'm a not waiting. I've been on this commission now going on 4 years, and we've had the same people pretty much, and I think it's time for a change, and I think it's, why wait, 6 months or whatever.
well, because some of the people that are up for their terms up might not even come back. You just don't know.
Why not?
So I've heard 2 and 1 at the moment, and there are
Length of time.
6 people
How long
on
have you
the
been on?
dais. If
Would
I
you
can
not
hear
come
from 2 more, I might be able to
Why not?
decide we might know what's going to be on the calendar.
Yeah.
2 more people, one way or the other.
Wait.
That's 3 who say wait, 1 who say go.
I'm
You said wait, right, Madison?
I'm not.
Oh, okay.
And
Sorry.
Abstain.
Renee's
I
abstaining, so
abstain.
now I've got 3 and 1. So if she's abstaining, that means the majority of the people who would be voting would say wait. So we will wait until after the appointments are made to bring it back on the calendar.
So appointments will be made when?
I think terms are up in January. It's up to the city council as to when they appoint. I can't tell you what the council.
Mine isn't up in January, so you wait till
The
May.
three of the members said that they would like to wait until the
It doesn't
appointments.
matter. Like I said,
Yeah.
we can always toss a coin.
The meeting is. I'm calling the meeting adjourned. 8:56. Thank you.
You know how to throw that humor in there one way or